Hello guys and welcome to my YouTube channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching this from. FG lift ban on interstate travels, open schools for graduating students, but churches, mosques, open bars, nightclubs, spa, gyms remain closed. Before I read the news, do subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below and turn on post notification to get information when I post any news. Omololu Ogunmade, Olawale Ajimotokan in Abuja and Kemi Olaitan in Ibadan. The federal government has approved what it called safe reopening of schools nationwide in phase 2 of the gradual easing of lockdown that was yesterday extended for 4 weeks. But only graduating students in Primary 6, Junior Secondary School 3 and Senior Secondary School 3 will resume. It has also lifted the ban on interstate travels with the effect from tomorrow, provided such journeys are made outside the curfew hours of 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. The federal government has also approved domestic flight resumption as soon as practicable. However, it is said given the rising wave of COVID-19 infections, churches, mosques, open bars, nightclubs, spas and gyms will remain closed while the 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew was retained. Speaking in Abuja during the briefing by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, the chairman of the task force, Mr. Boss Mustafa, said the reopening of schools was meant to allow students in graduating classes to resume preparation for their examinations. Mustafa, who is also the secretary to the government of the Federation, SGF, stated that the developments were contained in the task force fifth interim report, which was submitted to the President, Muhammadu Buhari. He said, I am pleased to inform you that Mr. President has carefully considered the fifth interim report of the PTF and has accordingly approved that, with the exception of some modification to be expatiated upon later, the phase 2 of the East lockdown will be extended by another 4 weeks with effect from Tuesday, June 30th, 2020 through midnight of Monday, 27th of July, 2020. Specifically, however, the following measures shall either remain in place or come into effect: maintaining the current phase of the national response for another 4 weeks in line with modification to be expatiated by the national coordinator; permission of movement across state borders only outside curfew hours with effect from 1st July 2020. Enforcement of laws around non-pharmaceutical interventions by states, in particular the use of face masks in public places; safe reopening of schools to allow students in graduating classes resume in person in preparation for examination; safe reopening of domestic aviation services as good as practicable; publication of revised guidelines around the three thematical areas of general movement, industries and labor, and communities activities; provision of technical support for states to mobilize additional resources for the response. Also speaking to the briefing, the national coordinator of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Dr. Sani Aliyu, said all primary schools and daycare centers nationwide will remain closed until further notice. FG considers lockdown of 18 LGAs. Earlier, Mustafa told State House correspondents after leading some members of the task force to brief the president that the federal government might consider locking down 8 out of the 774 local government areas LGAs considered to account for 60% of the confirmed COVID-19 cases in Nigeria in the next phase of easy lockdown. He said the affected state government would implement what he called precision lockdown. While noting that the nation has not reached its peak as far as considered cases were concerned, he urged all stakeholders to ensure compliance with non-pharmaceutical interventions. He also gave an insight into the reasons behind the low fatality rate in Nigeria, saying 80% of the infections are in the age bracket of 31 to 40 years, which he described as a very active part of the population. Mustafa said the highest rate of COVID-19 cases was recorded in the 18 of the LGAs mentioned above. According to the SGF, 60% of the total 24,000 cases recorded as of June 28 came from the 18 local governments. The PTF chairman said the COVID-19 cases would continue to rise as long as there is no vaccine or drug for its cure, while the country's testing capacity has also increased. He added that the only way to spread he added that the only way the spread could be reduced is strict adherence to non-pharmaceutical prescription, such as the use of face masks, social distancing, avoidance of overcrowded places, among other protocols already publicized. The SGF explained that the mortality rate in Nigeria has been low when compared to the situation in most countries because most of those infected by the virus fall within the age bracket of 31 to 40, whom it described, he said, had strong immunity to fight the disease. However, he said the PTF was only concerned about 20% of the population whom he said might be victims of the virus, noting that 5% of them are likely to succumb to it because of their ages. According to him, it is against this backdrop that the PTF is doing its best to protect those who fall within the category, noting that it is the reason they said those from 55 years and above should not go to worship centers. FG retains nationwide curfew. The PTF national chairman, Aliyu, said the federal government had retained the nationwide curfew declared to contain the spread of COVID-19. The curfew will remain in force between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. Aliyu added that the federal government had approved restriction of movement in high-burden local government areas. It is suicidal to reopen schools now, ASU insists. Meanwhile, the Academic Staff Union of University ASU yesterday stated that it would be suicidal for schools to be reopened by the federal government amid the COVID-19 pandemic. ASU also kicked against any appointment and promotions carried out under what it described as the Illegal Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System (IPPIS). The union said the government must take resources available in order for schools to meet proposed conditions by the Federal Ministry of Education. ASU National President Professor Biodun Ogunyemi made this position known while speaking with the News Agency of Nigeria (NAN) in Ota, Ogun State. He urged the government to provide the ideal environment and meet the conditions spelled out by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) before reopening schools across the country. Ogunyemi said the federal government must lead and show the ways by meeting the condition for reopening of school before any school can be allowed to open because COVID-19 pandemic is a health challenge. When it comes to public health, it is something that should not be left in the hands of individuals, but the federal government must take the lead. The ASU president listed the conditions spelled out by the NCD to include the provision of materials for regular hand washing, provision of face masks, isolation spaces, and hand sanitizer. He said many government-owned schools did not have the financial capacity to meet the outlined condition. He said it is suicidal to reopen schools now if the federal government itself could not meet the conditions spelled out by the NCDC and the World Health Organization. The nation will expose innocent children to avoidable risk. Schools across the country were shut in March to curb the spread of the pandemic. ASU kicks against promotion under IPPIS. ASU also kicked against any appointments and promotions carried out under IPPIS, saying it is illegal. The union in strike bulletin 10 signed by Ogunyemi and released to the press by the chairman, University of Ibadan chapter, Professor Ayo Akinwole, said the union would insist on the reversal of appointments and promotions during the strike of failing to meet established norms and procedure. The union also lashed out at some vice-chancellors promising online delivery they cannot defend. According to Ogunyemi, the union is happy when its members are promoted, but not with following due process of academic elevation, stating that appointment through the IPPS by some vice-chancellors will be reversed. ASU also asked members not to fill any form or document sent to them through their vice-chancellors, alleging that some VCs are working with National University Commission (NUC) for fake data collection. Ogunyemi said the union was working to ensure that lecturers yet to receive their salary for 4 months get paid, whilst also working at getting new salaries and welfare packages commensurate with global standard for the members. This is the news that was gathered during the meeting with the federal government in line with the task force for COVID-19. Thank you so much for listening. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button down below and enjoy more information by turning on post notification so that you get notified wherever I post any news. Good day.